You know, Woody, life is tough these days. It's like I bang my head against the wall all day for maggots.
I hear you, Joe, but at least we're not human.
Hey, I heard Slim's got a new video. Wanna watch it?
Sorry, Woody, I got a headache.
Well, let me vomit in your mouth then.
Thanks, Joe.
Welcome to an absolutely gorgeous New Brunswick morning. I mean, the air is a little crisp, but it's beautiful, it's quiet, and yeah, it's gonna get a little cooler soon. Summer's over, it's now the fall, and it wasn't really a good summer to be honest with you. It was very hot, very humid, super dry. You couldn't camp, you couldn't hike. All kinds of fire bans, but now that's over. It's one of my favorite times of year now, the fall. What have I been doing all summer? I mean, I know I haven't done a video. I think the last video I worked on was probably in June. Now that I'm retired, I feel I need to do other things. When you do YouTube full-time, it does tend to take over your life, and other things get put to the back burner. Eventually, you got to slow down and deal with life as well. So, I had a little break. I'm back. What am I doing now? I don't know. I'm trying to get those creative juices flowing, but I don't really know what I want to do yet. I've certainly had some time to sort of think about it, and I do want to do some things, but let's just see where it evolves. Now, one thing I can do is take down the hummingbird feeder. There were, every time I came back here, there were hummingbirds, and I had to keep, filling it up again. They had a good year, it seems, but now it's the fall. It's going to be a frost soon. I don't want to crack the glass, so I'm going to put that into storage. Now, I did shoot some nature over the last, 3 months, so I will include that in this video. But as far as projects, I don't know. Let's see what I can get to in a short period of time. I wanted to show you these. These are pieces I'd sliced off logs after some of the trees had fallen or had to be taken down. And I sliced these up, I think about 1.5 years ago. And my intention was, I don't know what my intention, I just thought it would be a good idea. But now that I see them, I think they have potential. This could be a seat. Now this one has a big split in it, but it's still holding together. But unfortunately, the third one split apart. And rather than throw it away, actually, this is the project I want to work on. Because you put it through the planer, it actually looks quite nice. And what I need is a little corner shelf. Pretty basic, pretty simple, shouldn't take me long. And some of this, I think, will be the support. But I think I want to try to save this a little bit because it kind of looks like an owl or something. I don't know what I'll do with that, but that's my first project. So, let's get started. Stop talking, start doing. I need my saw.
And as I was setting up, I spotted in the water my local version of the Loch Ness Monster. There's the head. And there's the hump. And he usually shows up at high tide. And this other neighbor is really hard to get on video. Did you miss it? Here's one last look before she heads out to sea. And I can now say my video has a purpose. And yes, I do know the blade on my miter saw is really dull and smoking. I gotta replace that. The first piece I cut is the support piece. This will attach underneath. As this is a corner shelf, the top piece needs a 90-degree angle at the back. I needed a 45-degree angle on the support brace, so I got out the table saw. I know this goldfinch really likes thistle, especially when they have matured enough to seed. But what I was not sure of was this guy really eating the seeds, or just having fun pulling the little umbrellas out and watching them float in the wind. Behind my log pile, I could see some heads bobbing by. It was the Gobble Girls, out for a stroll and helping to clean up the neighborhood of ticks. I hadn't seen them for a while and already had a couple of tick bites, so their visit was greatly appreciated. The head mistress was really keeping her eye on me as the ladies' auxiliary headed back down the road. I truly feel blessed with the variety of birds that call the trees and shores around my cabin home. No need to travel, it's all right here. I don't always recognize the species, and this one almost looked like a budgie, one with fleas at that. But when Dad popped by with lunch, I knew it was a young female cardinal. And he was soon off for another meal. The next step in my shelf project was sanding. I started with 80 grit sandpaper on my orbital sander to smooth out the pine slab. I then switched to 180 grit for a few more passes. Being back on the grid has been a big advantage with all the power tools I use. For when I only had battery power, I always had to stop for recharging. The final sanding would be by hand, using 320 grit sandpaper for a silky smooth finish.
Well, there it is, 2 pieces, nicely sanded, looks pretty good. What's the next step? Now, some people would say, well, you just fasten it together, right? It goes like that. The way this is going to go, this is pieces on an angle, so there's the corner shelf. But some people would say the next step is to finish it. Which is best? Well, if I was to stain it, I would definitely say stain it first before you glue it together, because if you don't and you use something like wood glue, which is exactly what I'm going to use, I'm not using screws or nails or pegs, just glue and clamp it. If you use glue and you have that white seam around here, if you go to stain it later on, it won't penetrate the glue, so you have this light area. However, first of all, I'm not going to stain it, and secondly, you know what? I got a feeling something's going to change. What I really need is to put it together first so I can make sure that everything is going to fit perfectly, because I'm suspicious. It's bit me in the butt before, if you know what I mean. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clamp it. Now, normally this would be an easy clamping job, except everything's curved. That is a challenge for clamping. And, you know, like I could clamp it here, but to clamp this side, and I do want to clamp both sides, you know, it's on an angle. It's going to be hard to hold it. So how I'm going to do it is I've got 2 2x4s. I'm going to put one on this side and one on this side, just like that. Line them up Load that and put the clamps on. No, it's not a good clamp. I don't know where I get these clamps. I usually find them at garage sales instead of buying good ones, but hey, that's me. Okay, let's just make sure it's clamped down there really tight. It's got to be tight because I don't want it to slip. Okay, that's tight. There we go. Some would probably just sit it on there and that will do it, but you're not going to get a good bond. This isn't holding much. I mean, it's a pretty small shelf, but anyway, I think just want to make sure I do it right. So that's like that, and that's about there. Okay. Now the challenge is to do this and not slide it around. Okay, put that there. And, oh boy. Okay. Foot under there. Okay, I think we're good. And one more. Oh, right here. There we go. Looks like a good bond. Let's let it dry.
I'm so glad I constructed that kayak path last year, for without it, I wouldn't be able to get to the shore to paddle. I also installed a trail camera to find out who else was using it. Turns out, I wasn't the only one. Squirrely Temple liked it. So did Rocky Raccoon. Even Mickey Mouse found it convenient. And Bill Murray loved it. Here's Rockin' Robin. And of course, Dear Prudence. I guess these Blue Jays were on a flyover to a big game. It turned out my path was a regular freeway of wildlife 24 hours a day. Perhaps I should have charged them a toll, but all they seem to leave me is rotten crab carcasses and dirty chocolates. Now Blondie I'd seen before, but this is the first time I saw her cute little baby. A month before, Blondie came down with her other sibling. Listen to them talk. I call this one Bullseye, as from behind, he looks like a dart in a dartboard. Unaware he was down by the shore, I actually ran into him as he posed for a portrait while eating grass. This guy looks so cuddly you just want to give him a big hug, but I wouldn't recommend it. Porcupines are the sloths of the north, so laid back, never in a hurry, and a little clumsy perhaps, but that just makes them even cuter. Along with the trail camera, I also have security cameras, which confirmed who's been eating the leaves off my little cedar tree. And who keeps setting off my motion light? That's one mangy-looking deer. So the main reason I have security cameras is to show me what's going on when I'm not there. And one thing it captures well is extreme weather. In this storm last December, it looks like the house is rocking, but it's actually the tree the camera's on. But this was nothing compared to what happened on August 14th of this year. At 4:26 in the afternoon, a slight breeze commenced. But 10 seconds later, all hell broke loose as a wall of water and wind appeared out of nowhere. Watch for a lightning flash at the 17-second mark. But the worst was yet to come, and while not immediately apparent from this angle, from the other side, something bad definitely happened. By enhancing and slowing down the footage, it was a little clearer. Look at the top of the left picture and you'll see the power mast on the roof. But in a split second, it's gone. Then comes an explosion as the power shorts out. I was lucky the cabin didn't catch fire. There is now a region-wide blackout, and as quickly as it started, the freak storm now subsided. I arrived 10 minutes later to observe the damage. As seen from the front door and out of range of the security cameras was the culprit, conveniently on display in my garden. The top of a pine tree had broken off and hit my newly installed power line. Although it was still secured to the power pole, it pulled on the middle of the line, which in turn pulled on the power mast on my roof. The mast bent over, shorting out the circuit. I believe the metal roof saved the cabin from catching fire.
Now the funny thing is, it's been a dry spell for like a month and a half here in New Brunswick. There's like fire bans, you can't even walk in the woods. There's been no rain, and it's just been heat and very little wind. All of a sudden, in like 60 seconds, a wall of wind and rain just blasted through here. Took another tree. Oh well. I guess eventually I'm going to run out of trees and not worry about this, but right now, I got a little work to do.
One good thing about severe weather in a wooded location is I get lots of opportunities to practice my chainsaw skills. I had no need for one in the city, but in the country, it's as essential as a pickup truck. Getting the tree onto my driveway was easy. I just had to cut the right branch. A couple hours later, I had the tree all cut up and a new wall of future firewood.
Okay, should be dry now. Let's see what we got. A lot of clamps. one more. Seems solid. And yeah, a little bit of overlap there, intentional, because I think I need to trim it down.
After trimming, I could now add the keyhole hangers. This was my only investment on this project, a huge $2.99 plus tax. It better be worth it.
Now these normally go on with the big hole at the bottom, 2 screws, works perfectly there. However, wood's not thick enough, so I got a problem. What I'm going to do is actually tilt them like that. Should still work, that way I can get both screws in there and no issues there. So first one, just got to trace where the holes are going to be, and then where are the big holes going to be. Now that's the keyhole, however it's the big hole I have to do twice because when it slides up it still has to fit underneath there. So I'm going to use a Forstner bit. This is a 1/2 inch. That's going to give me a little bit more control. If I just use a regular drill I might go too deep, so Forstner bit is more gradual. Just a smaller drill for the other two.
Now I can fasten them in place with wood screws.
And hopefully that should do it. And it does slide. Well, so close, but it's not done yet. There's the keyhole hangers on there, secure. I could actually put it on the wall right now if I had screws there, but the next part is the best because I get to put on a finish. Ooh.
Butterflies showcase nature's beauty, but beauty is no match to brawn as this bumblebee gets pushy and steals a flower. Insects are fascinating, especially those that don't want to be seen, like this Sawyer beetle I call Tom. Now, is Tom even alive? I had to find out. Yep. Although many little critters dazzle us with color, style, and bling, this one sure doesn't get any points for looks. Kinda seems like it crawled out of the dirt, because it did. After being underground for at least a year, and in some cases up to 17 years, it emerges from the soil and is out on a mission. It's trying to find the best spot just to hang out. Now, blending in with the bark does help, as a bird could easily make an hors d'oeuvre out of this one. Once it finds the right location, it settles in for a big transformation. Watching a cicada metamorphose is like watching a bud turn into a flower. It splits a seam on its back and slowly pushes itself out of its old skin. It takes about an hour to fully emerge, so I've speeded up the camera. Once it's finally free, it holds tight against its old casing while the wings unfurl. Another hour later, the wings are folded down against the abdomen, and its legs do a stretching routine. Free of its drab suit of armor, this Cinderella of emerald lace leaves her past life to find her prince. However, it seems she's a little bit of a klutz. And by the way, this is where I observed that the former Mr. Ugly was actually a miss. I guess there's no such thing as panties in the Wild Kingdom. After watching her struggle, I decided to lend a hand and guided her to the nearest pine tree. Up she went, crawling instead of flying until her wings were fully dry. Well, I sure hope she found love, or at least gets laid.
Now there's many ways of finishing wood. You know, you go to a hardware store, you're going to find polyurethanes, you're going to find shellacs, you can try varnishes, but I like to keep it simple and eco-friendly. And I already had some, which helps. And that is using boiled linseed oil and mineral spirits. And this is so easy. You get a little jar, you just mix up what you need. A little bit of, give it a little wiggle if you want. I don't think it needs to be mixed, but I'll do it anyway. A little bit of that. And a little bit more of the mineral spirits. Now what the mineral spirits do is they help it to dry. The more you put in, the faster it'll dry. However, the thinner it'll be. So it's a little bit of a balance. Some use 1-to-1, some use actually straight linseed oil, but it takes forever. Mine is about that. Give it a little wiggle. And don't need a brush. And you know, you don't even have to worry about, you know, fingerprints or anything like that because it's oil. Don't worry about it. So you take your rag like that. We're actually going to start at the bottom. So, here we go. Nice orange color. Definitely brings out the grain. Do it underneath. You can see underneath here, so why not? You don't have to do the back, of course. Really livens up the wood. And the edge first. Okay. Now the top. Oh yeah, look at that. Gorgeous. But look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Love it. Now after you've saturated the whole surface, give it a few minutes, let it sink in, and then get a dry cloth and just wipe off anything that's remaining. It's smooth, it's beautiful, and this is a throwaway piece of wood.
Alignment with the wall screws is critical for this corner shelf. I put short screws through the keyholes and slide them into their locking position. I then stuff the holes with pieces of a shop towel. This keeps the screws firmly aligned. Next, I position the shelf in the desired location and use a level to make sure it's not tilting. Once true, a little whack or two from the side, and I now have 2 precise marks from the screw tips as to where to drill. 3/4 inch long screws should be adequate for this little shelf. Time for a drum roll. It's all done. Yahoo! So why did I need this shelf in the first place? It's a speaker shelf.
Why did I need a new speaker? For editing, of course. That's my 20-watt monster on my brand new shelf. There's my mic, my laptop, and my 32-inch monitor. This little room is now my editing room. Yay! Well, I better get to it, or this video will never end. I hope you enjoyed this. Check out my others, and I'll see you next time.
Well, I could end this with a picture of my shelf, but I'm kind of a nature guy. Hope to see you again soon.